We live by the creed and the creed alone.
Mando, nothing but
You need to
Mando.
go. You need to go bathe in your bathtub to absolve yourself.
In the living waters of your bathtub.
In the living
Speaking
waters,
of Frank,
yeah.
I was gonna say I was in there. It looks like something's living in your bathtub. You should deal with that.
Oh, that's Steve.
That's a mythosaur.
Anyways, guys, welcome to Scoundrels Inc., your number one source for Star Wars.
And-
Nothing but Star Wars.
And Steve Slander, apparently.
Yeah, whoever the fuck Steve
Oh,
is.
man.
We don't like Steve.
Guys, today we are talking about The Mandalorian, Chapter 18. 18, The Mines of Mandalore.
The Mines of Mandalore.
The Mines of Mandalore.
Did you think we were going to get here this soon?
My cousin Bo-Katan will give us a royal welcome.
Jesus.
And they call it a mine.
A mine.
Honestly, big Moria mine vibes. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, Balrog and everything.
Yeah, well, you got the goblins and you got the Balrog.
Water
Yeah.
Balrog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I think we were going to get here this soon? I don't know about episode 2, but I did think, like, within the first 4.
I thought like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I feel like they always kind of do this on The Mandalorian. Like, they just waste no time. You're like, oh, I'll probably see this in 3 episodes.
I
and
don't
then,
know that I agree
and
with
then next
that.
week, all of a sudden, we're like somewhere. They make the galaxy feel small at times. Like, I get they got like hyperspace travel and all.
Brandon,
and
you're almost literally out of frame.
And then Bo-Katan's planet, and then Bo-Katan's
That's a really good point, Brandon.
Bo-Katan's planet is right next to Mandalore, I guess. But then, like, I mean, if it's across the pond, just go check it out, see if it actually is poison.
No,
you know what I mean?
instead-
he,
so-
he was literally like just above the atmosphere of Mandalore, and he literally points out his home planet. He's like, I grew up over there, and it's like, you never thought to come check
I think he was
Well,
a
hold
kid
on.
at that time.
Hold
this
on.
whole time, bro.
To be clear, that's the moon of Mandalore.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like he's saying he grew up like on the next planet over. It's literally the moon.
Yeah, so he couldn't have he's like, oh, it's poison, we can't go there, and like you could see it from your house.
Well, he hasn't been
How
there.
long did you
How
believe
long-
in Santa Claus? How long?
I couldn't see Santa Claus
Also-
from my house, bro.
Also,
yeah, but
to-
you believed what they told you that he was real, right? So he believed what they told him that it was poison.
hold
out
on.
there, right?
Time out. Let's get the timeline straight
Santa
here.
Claus is real. He helps the kids in
Let's get
Chronicles
the
of
timeline.
Narnia.
Let's get the timeline straight here. It's been about
It's a biography.
It's been about a decade.
Of what?
The planet's been like that.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh, so
it's not like the planet's been like that for 30 years
That's
or
true.
50
Good point.
years
Good
or 100
point.
years.
Good point.
It's been a decade. So he hasn't been on his home planet for the last decade.
it's really just a testament to how decimated that planet looks.
Right.
Where you think it's been like
well,
thousands of
because
years.
But he's never been to Mandalore.
he's never been to Mandalore. No. But even Bo-Katan says, it hasn't even been that. Like it hasn't. It looks like it's been so much longer than it has. Because Bo-Katan's been there, this is probably about 8 years after Jedi right now?
yeah, somewhere in there.
So
6 to 8 at least.
the
yeah.
original trilogy takes, I think it's 3 years or 5 years.
Yeah, let's go with that.
So it's been 12 years.
Okay.
Because the last season of the Rebels, they're on Mandalore.
Yeah.
So yeah, it
'Cause
hasn't.
it's not soon after Siege of Mandalore that it gets. I can't imagine.
We
soon
don't
after.
know. We don't know the timeline on it.
That's right. We don't. But it was the Empire, so I can't imagine
Right.
like a year maybe. Let's say.
I mean, even if it happens, whenever it happens, right? Like, it's,
But I mean, who gets bent out of time? Who gets bent out of shape about timelines these days?
lots of people. But my point is,
Yeah.
So, Concordia, the moon, is sort of like Puerto Rico
Yeah.
for
Mandalore.
Mandalore, right?
So-
Not all Puerto Ricans have been to the U.S.,
But they
And
know
is
it's there.
Kalevala kind of like
but they know
Alaska?
it's there.
It's like Alaska.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, or like the Canary,
Bahamas? I
Yeah,
don't know.
I don't know. So, yeah,
Whatever.
fucking
No, you know what it is?
the Philippines.
It's the Hamptons.
Sure. But we also know there's a bunch of other. So Mandalorians control more than just that star system, because we know there's Concord Dawn, not to be confused
Right.
with Concordia, and we know there's wherever clan Ren is from.
Was that Crow's
The
Nest?
banking
The
clan.
Crow's Nest is the name of
Is that the name?
I think it's the name of the Citadel, but I think the planet has a different.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. That might be the name of the planet. But so there's all these Mandalorian planets where different sort of feudal Mandalorian lords held control, but now the system's broken and none of them hold control. It's weird to me that Bo-Katan has that castle. I don't think that's her castle. I think she just showed up and claimed it one day.
Or her. It's not like that hasn't been in her family. You don't think?
Maybe, but she's from, she even says in this episode, she's from the royal family. Yeah. Their home would have been Concordia, or Sundari.
Oh, right.
Would have been the capital city.
I guess her family is from Mandalore,
potentially.
But her clan is originally from
that's potentially what's going on. Or like I said, she just fucking took that castle because no one's in it.
Sure. Which is weird because it's a nice setup over there.
Right, but all the Mandalorians but the point of what we're seeing during this time is all the Mandalorians have scattered to the winds, and they've left the Mandalore system.
Or you might say the stars.
Our people are spread like stars across the galaxy.
The cosmic stars.
Is there any other kind?
That's my Din Djarin impression.
Sure.
So far.
Okay, don't elaborate.
I won't. I didn't plan on it. Anyway, so what a great fucking. I'm not even going to pose the question. Just what a great fucking episode.
Oh yeah, it was. I was losing my mind every 5 minutes. It was from the very beginning of the episode. Really.
Bunta Eve.
Yeah, that was so.
Yeah. Cool. Well, okay. So Jill, I went to take a nap before watching Mandalorian.
As anyone does at our age.
Fuck, man, it's so late. Jill texted me to make sure I was up.
Yeah.
Because she knows if I don't right,
because most people do sleep at midnight.
Yeah. And then she heard me go, no, and she's like, okay, you're up, which was during the previously on.
Yeah. Look, I personally do not like to skip anything, even the Prevon. But this one probably could have used the old skip button just because of the whole mythosaur thing. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, we're harping on this a little bit on the Prevon. And I have a feeling we might see such a creature. And what do you know? By the end of the episode, we did.
Yep.
It's right behind us, isn't it?
That's all it needed, really. It'd be funny.
For you audio-only listeners, Sean has decorated our glorious podcast studio with an actual skull of a baby mythosaur.
The baby mythosaur.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. It's so much bigger than you want for a wall decoration, but it's so much smaller than the actual thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because even
heavy.
Frank's seen the thing before. He's like, I didn't know this was this big.
Yeah,
I've seen a real mythosaur before.
Yeah,
and I gotta tell you, big.
Do you believe in megafauna?
What?
What's your favorite megafauna?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Big animal.
My favorite big animal.
Flora, fauna.
The mythosaur is pretty cool.
Cool. Frank?
Crate.
Oh, I was gonna go with Godzilla.
Like a crate dragon. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. No, like a thing of crates.
The planet
like
crate.
Yeah.
The salt planet with the crystal critters.
A whole crate of salt.
And
played by
big ass door.
What's his name?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Planet Ego.
What?
His name?
Ego.
Kurt Russell? Yeah, okay. I was like, what are you getting
I would like
at?
my planets alive, okay?
So yeah, Bunta Eve. I thought it was really cool to open up with that and see like a celebration because you don't see that in the Phantom Menace.
No.
You just hear about I'm racing in Bunta Eve.
No, the Bunta Eve Classic, and I go like, I don't know what that means. Okay, cool, yeah, great.
I guess it's like a Christmas Eve.
I literally thought it was just the name of the race.
Yeah.
Right, I thought it was like and the other thing too was like when I hear the word Eve, I don't necessarily think like our concept of the word Eve, like the night before. I just thought it was some Bunta Eve, like another
Yeah, Darth Vader. Darth is his first name.
Glup Shitto. Well, no, like I thought it was just an alien word that didn't mean shit, right? Sure. Like
Me too. I was
McClunky.
I was like, oh, it's like a Christmas Eve, like Bunta Eve.
Yeah, well, it's Bunta. They celebrate Bunta Week.
Bunta Week, yeah.
Apparently.
Which is great. It's like Spirit Week, but
and
for
Pelly's got to work
Tatooine.
now. It's unbelievable.
It's
we used to
the
get
entire planet's one big
in
party,
this economy.
Back under the huts, we got Bunta Week off. Now we gotta work.
Now Boba Fett's in charge.
Yeah, we're gonna live it up.
Well, that's why Pelly says you can take out Boba Fett. Which I thought that was hilarious.
R5.
R5. Well, first I want to talk about my boy.
Your boy.
My boy. My favorite sweet boy.
Baby Yoda.
No. Fuck that guy.
Who's your
BD1.
BD1?
He's not in this.
Well, there's a different BD series droid, and he was sitting on top of the speeder.
Oh yeah,
and it was just an animatronic bolted to the speeder.
It was,
and the head just swiveled.
It did. I did notice that. I was like,
it looked like a reused Pirates of the Caribbean. Like it looks like they stripped down a Pirates of the Caribbean animatronic of like a parrot or something.
But you know, I don't mind.
I don't either.
The utilization of like a practical animatronic in that sense because it's not a part of the scene.
It's not a focus, yeah.
And it's not a focus. So you're not really looking at it. It just adds to the atmosphere.
Do you remember in The Force Awakens that crow?
Yeah, it's
in the desert.
Steel pecker.
Oh yeah.
I have the trivia card. It is called a steel pecker.
Okay,
cool.
It pecks at steel.
I didn't know that.
I don't know if you knew that.
No,
yeah.
I didn't.
Well, in the shot, it was, I believe,
It was pecking at steel,
and that's where it got its
And it
pecker.
is but that's an animatronic.
animatronic.
That's an animatronic
It's an Animaniac.
that you can kind of look at and go like, I don't know, man. That's not a great animatronic. Like it's really stiff. I do too, but I prefer it this way where it's like that's clearly an animatronic, but it's also in the background.
Yeah.
But yeah, fucking R5D4,
Yeah.
What a baby.
Yo.
our boy.
He's finally getting into the fray, as they say.
Mando called him a baby.
He is a baby.
He said, "Don't act like a baby."
But
while
I do
he's
wanna-
sitting next to an actual baby.
Well, okay, because there's a theory. There's been a long-running theory that he made his motivator blow.
Oh yeah, from the comic and the
Well, but even
certain point of view.
even
book,
beside that,
Yeah.
it's like so.
that he was like a Jedi droid or something, and was
There's
like,
that,
sense that
yeah.
R2 needed to go, so I gotta pop this motivator so that Luke takes R2.
Angaloan.
So he's got.
But he calls it an R2 unit, you know.
No, they call it an R5.
No, I'm saying
unit.
Luke calls him an R2 unit.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
But,
yeah.
he is
So Luke's
R5.
an idiot.
Yeah, Luke's an idiot.
Yeah, Luke's a moron.
We've established that Luke and Din are both idiots.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went. How many times did he go to Tashi Station? He didn't once figure out the difference between an R2 and an R5.
I mean, yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I do want to say, I thought it was interesting how, you know, there's all this hubbub about IG-11 in the first episode, and he's got to, you know, get parts to fix him.
He just gave up.
He just
what a
gives
fucking
up.
what a fucking downgrade.
But sure. But I was thinking, oh, maybe they're gonna make IG-11 the Marshal on Navarro. And he's gonna get. Din will eventually get like the part, and then will like gift, quote unquote, gift IG-11 to Navarro as the Marshal. And I think basically that's why it kind of came out of nowhere for this IG-11 plot line, because first of all they explain Cara Dune away,
Right.
And then it's like, well, if you don't have the Marshal, it's like, well, why don't we just bring back IG-11, make him the Marshal, and you won't see him all the time.
He's my second choice.
Yeah,
He's gonna shoot Swamp Thing in the
Yeah,
face.
he's my second choice because you could do Cobb Vanth.
yeah, but I
Vanth
think
of
like the
Tatooine.
odds of Cobb Vanth leaving Freetown or just Tatooine in a
Mos
whole,
Pelgo?
yeah, I mean,
It's called Freetown now, bro.
yeah.
They named it themselves because they're free now.
I do like that theory though.
I know.
but
I read
think,
the book. It's in the book.
You don't need the book; it's in the show.
The book's great. You should
The
read
book of Boba Fett.
but I do think
wee,
the
wee.
IG-11 as Marshal is a pretty good move because, like, first of all, he's kind of like saved the town already once, in a sense. You
Now
know,
let's clarify. We don't. For anyone watching this, going like, "Wait, did I miss that part?" We don't know that happens yet.
Oh yeah.
So speculation.
Yeah, but I could see it happening.
Oh no, I've seen the whole season. Yeah,
Have you?
Yeah.
yeah. I went over to Dave's house.
Yeah, you
We're,
and Dave.
we're on a first name basis.
Dave Thomas, founder of Wendy's.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, he's dead.
Well, it's got a
Yeah,
nice
but his
house.
house is still there.
Okay, sure.
It's
Yeah.
square, just like their burgers.
Wait. All right, moving on.
Yeah.
I like that Pelly scams Din.
Yeah. Well, she doesn't scam Din. She scams that.
Well, she
Right.
scams Din. She goes,
In a
this
way.
droid
Oh,
is
well, yeah,
made
it is.
for adventure. He's an ex-rebel droid.
She
I'm like,
upsells
no,
him.
hold on.
She
No, he
upsells
isn't.
him basically.
It's also done in a way where it's like she knows that he knows that she's full of shit.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
There is an unspoken like language there between them.
He's like, yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, he's
Whatever.
like, all right, yeah, I got to get to Mandalore. I got to get going. We only got 6 more episodes.
He looks
okay.
he looks good in that Starfighter though.
Great.
It's a great because we haven't.
I love it.
They only use R2 units in episode 1.
Right.
I like the R5, the
Good look.
the derpy looking R5.
I did like kind of like the clarification. Oh, I'll just reinstall the droid
Right.
port because people were like, "Well, wait a minute, blah blah blah. How's
It's like,
Grogu?"
yeah.
And, like that's modified,
Yeah.
obviously. The whole Starfighter's modified. Why wouldn't the port be? Anyways,
Also, like, I don't know that there's. I think because people were speculating that off the trailer. There's a shot where you can kind of see R5 in the trailer.
yeah, you did see the R5 in the
Okay.
N1, yeah.
So
So like we knew that was coming.
sure.
If you remember the trailer, then like oh, this is where it happened.
I didn't catalog it.
Roger.
I
that.
think we talked about it when we did the trailer stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think I cataloged it. But we also at the time didn't know that Grogu could climb from one spot to the other.
Yeah.
So it is possible that you just leave the droid unit in there, put the dome on top, and the droid fucking port is still there.
Sure.
You don't need to have pulled that out. So I don't know why people were like, "Oh, well, they pulled it out." Well, we don't know that yet, you know.
And
Oh,
it's not really
whoops.
like a big deal. It's
Unless
not-
they said that in Book of Boba Fett, which they might have.
We got to talk about the real controversy: is was Grogu's first words "Pelly" or not?
No.
No, but man, is Grogu a little chatterbox?
Yeah,
these
he's
days?
got a lot more.
Yeah, he's
sounds.
making a lot of coos.
Okay, so I said this. I was watching with Jill after before the show today, and I had pointed out I feel like they've made Grogu too smart at this point to not be speaking yet.
I do feel like he's going to speak this season.
I mean,
I really do.
He clearly like understands basic or English as we know it here on planet Earth. Well, Sean's giving me a weird look. So like, but we do see like a lot of aliens and like droids that can understand it but don't speak it.
But we know he's capable of speaking.
Yeah, but maybe not. Maybe his little vocal cords aren't fully developed yet. Or maybe
I don't.
maybe it's his past trauma, Sean.
You know,
He's got PTSD.
So I said that. I've said that. Okay.
Order 66,
We
bro.
haven't covered Mandalorian on the show for longer than 2 episodes, but on other shows that I was covering last year,
Yeah.
I had pointed out that I think that it's a trauma thing, and I think that he's
I think
he's late to develop because although you said who picks on timelines, Master Yoda said he's been training Jedi for 800 years.
Yeah,
It's a big jump for him to go from mid 50s.
it's an exponential curve. The first
I hope
the
so.
first 50 are like this, and then the second 50 are like
just-
this
like a
developmentally.
growth spurt, right?
Yeah, like you're still going, and then all of a sudden you're a Jedi master, like on
it's
the
like,
council.
remember when
you
you
know?
were like, it was 7th grade, end of 7th grade year, and you get up for the summer and you come back for the 8th grade, and you're like, damn, Steve, you grew like 3 feet over the summer,
Yeah, like as you get older, like the last 5 years of my life went by in a blink. But imagine like the 5 years between 5th grade and 10th grade. Psh,
I don't remember.
you know what I mean? That's crazy, bro.
I don't remember them due to head trauma, which kind of
Sure.
works with what we're saying.
Right.
Are you
right.
Grogu?
No, I'm way too fat to be Grogu.
Grogu, he's a little
but
maybe chubby on the
I don't know.
sides.
I think he's just wearing a loose-fitting shirt.
to hide it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
He's eating a lot of frog lady eggs.
yeah.
What did we think? What did we think of Mandalore?
The entire
Pretty cool.
planet's one big ice
Wasteland?
Wasteland.
There we go.
Glass.
Glass.
That's the word.
Yep.
Mr. Glass.
I thought it was really cool. I thought the way we first kind of get introduced to it on the ground, going through the cave, and then revealing the ruins within inside.
ruins of
I thought it was just,
Mm-hmm.
man, watching Clone Wars and then getting into it in live action was just like, man, such a great payoff if you spent all that time investing in watching Clone Wars. It was just a really just awe-inspiring and really cool to see it, in live action with someone like Bo-Katan.
And I will say, Bo-Katan, the way that I assume it's Katie Sackhoff doing most of the stuff in the Bo-Katan armor.
Yeah.
I don't think they have a stand-in in the same way they do for Pedro, but the way Katie moves in that armor is impressive.
Yeah.
Because it looks so much like the character. Like,
Oh yeah.
it exudes that animation Bo-Katan energy in the same way, and it is so fucking impressive. And the action scenes with her are so good. Like,
Yes. I'm curious to see how much she was able to do of the action scenes, if any. I don't know if
Well,
she was.
I'm pretty
but-
sure she's done
Well, yeah,
a lot
but
of
I mean,
that stuff
I
for
think
other shows.
listening to her interview that she did with Christian Harloff.
Heard of him?
Heard of him.
Yeah. She talked about how Mandalorian took up a lot of her time, and this is before the premiere of the season. And so, to me, I was like, "Well, that's really interesting to say." It
Seems like she's going to be
she's going to be a big part in this episode, and this episode I think really confirms just how much of a part she's going to play in this storyline for Din going forward in terms of.
I mean, that's
not just his journey, but her own personal journey.
And that's what I
means
want
to be a Mandalorian.
That's what I want, because her development in this episode is so interesting, and the way that she helps develop Din, because a lot of people have said for a long time that we're really hoping that Din sort of finds the light and realizes that, he is part of a cult, right? I think that it is important for Din to have a good, positive role model, as much as that could be said about Bo-Katan, who is, not a good person.
It's not, these are not the same things, but it's like Ben Solo having Luke Skywalker and Snoke, and Din has the armor and Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
They're not equally the same. I'm not making those comparisons, but
that's a good...
that dynamic between this one way and this other way.
Supreme leader is
it's like
wise.
we've seen these kind of dynamics before in Star Wars, and here we have it with Mandalorians.
Yeah, or Anakin with Palpatine and Obi-Wan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's a very good... I think, it's not the same, but it's a
bad omen, because both of those guys are 0 for 2, man.
It's a very good parallel, right? But I also think that, probably jumping ahead, we got to talk about Robot Guy.
We got to talk about the super cool sound effects on the jetpack that sound just like Jango Fett's. Particularly, it's burned into my memory from the Bounty Hunter game on PlayStation 2.
One of the best games ever.
Well, Bo and Din...
Same sound effect.
Bo and Din's jetpack sound slightly different, right?
Yes.
Both sounded sick to me, bro.
Okay. Because I think one of them sounds like the Jango Fett jetpack, and one of them doesn't. And I think it's Bo-Katan's that sounds like the Jango Fett jetpack.
Yes.
Because that's the sound effect they use for...
In the Clone Wars.
The Clone Wars.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I love when they... This is way jumping ahead, but I love, just because we're talking about Bo-Katan's journey here, I love when Bo-Katan's reading the plaque.
Yes.
And she's so sarcastic. She's got that big, stupid grin. But as soon as Din hits that water
what a moment.
and begins reciting everything, she does have this moment of like, oh, this really matters to him.
Well, not just
she's
to him, but like...
But
she's finding out...
That's what I'm saying. Putting it in perspective
and
for her.
And the music, too, is...
Because it was a
whole
retelling
thing,
of Din's theme in a way that was so good. But I'm wondering... I've thought this whole time that Din is going to convert to Bo-Katan's way of seeing things eventually. I'm wondering if there's a possibility it goes the other way and Bo-Katan sees the light on the armor.
And we never see Katie Sackhoff's face ever
I know.
again.
I think it's going to end up being a mesh of the two
I hope
ways.
So. I hope so.
These are the ways.
These are the ways.
Yeah,
That's right.
I hope so. Because the way I see it, like, were I in that Mandalorian sort of thing, like, your helmet is for people you don't know. But among family and among people you trust, like,
clan,
that should be a sign of trust, is removing your helmet for them.
Sure.
Right? Like, because
the whole premise, basically how it was set up in season 1, is our secrecy is our strength.
Right.
But why would you be secret with those around you?
Right.
You know?
And that's what Bo's saying, is that it is the Children of the Watch and groups like them that have caused the derision in Mandalorian culture.
Yeah.
Right?
See, I could buy more of do not remove your helmet in public, because our secrecy is our strength. But when we're down here in the catacombs, you're chilling in the covert, it's like, let your hair down a little bit. But once you step outside these halls, make sure no one sees you.
Well, it's kind of a war movie trope that, like, someone will take off their helmet and that's when they get shot, right? Like,
yes.
So it's,
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 and you're like, oh, what a deflection.
Yeah.
Saved by Ryan.
You've got to kind of,
damn, bro.
I love that movie.
But there's got to be a middle ground. And I do agree that Din takes the rules a little. Din takes the rules a little too seriously sometimes.
Yes.
Because there's so many connections. He's built up this family outside of the Creed.
Yeah.
Right. And these are people that will go to bat for him and that care about him. And even though, like, look, Boba Fett and Bo-Katan are not good role models, but both of them have found a better way. They still live the Mandalorian lifestyle in a very interesting way, right? Mm-hmm. To say that, and especially the new Boba after the events of Book of Boba Fett, to say that he is not looking for respect and an honorable path forward. You know, he is 110% a Mandalorian. He's what we've based the culture on. Like,
sure.
From a writing standpoint, the culture is based on him. You know, So I don't know. I just find it interesting. I find the whole thing so interesting, and I'm curious where they're going to go with it, because I do think this episode throws a wrench in my idea that Din has to find the light.
Yeah, and
I'm starting to think that maybe it's got to be a middle ground.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting about the dynamic between Bo and Din is that it's, especially in the moment at the waters, Din becomes such, he gets locked into this religious mode where he's reciting, and it's almost as if he's just absolutely drawn to do this. Like, he has such a reverence. He holds these myths of the Mandalorian in such reverence that he can't believe he's actually there. I mean, this was like Din going to like his Disneyland. Like, he was looking around at everything and even on his way to
Well,
Mandalore,
I mean, do you remember your first time at Galaxy's Edge?
Dude, yeah.
It was a lot like
That's
that.
why I could totally relate to Din.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, this is me walking to Galaxy's Edge for the first time. This is him at Mandalore for the first time. Had heard basically his entire life that this was a damaged, poisoned place, plundered and pillaged and all of that, right? And he's finally there. He gets to the waters where he can now become a Mandalorian again in the eyes of, Children of the Watch and the Armorer. And this is his opportunity. And he walks into those waters. And what's so even more interesting in that scene was just the way Bo-Katan was, how her attention was drawn to him, and how steadfast he was in this belief of what he was doing. And it kind of brings, I feel like, awakens the inner Mandalorian, if you will, within her, of like, because she's been so jaded by the ones that have been around her and that have deserted her. And here's Din, who's like, I am not trying to abandon you. I'm trying to adhere to the old ways, for better or for worse, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm trying to hold on to this creed, while she feels like a lot of her people have abandoned that.
Sure.
And she sees this renewal, this rebirth within Din, and I'm curious now in the episodes going forward how Bo is going to interact with Din, and eventually I feel like other members of the Children of the Watch, maybe even meet the Armorer at some point in the season, and what that all does for her beliefs and how she's been handling everything with the rest of her own people as well.
Well, we also see she's dealing. It's set up really well with her throughout this whole episode, because the first thing she says is, "Oh, great, him again. Let me go deal with him one last time." Right. And then it's set up to kind of like, as soon as she knows he's actually in trouble, she's got to go help him.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that shows that regardless of which side of the aisle these Mandalorians are on, she cares because they're her people. Right. This is where, like, I don't know who's going to end up with the Darksaber at the end of the series. I don't know who's going to end up Mandalore at the end of the series. Someone will. I think Bo cares about the Mandalorian people as a whole, right? Because Bo still sees them as her people. Now, I think it's a matter of she has to teach Din the way, right? The real way, not the...
Or the other way.
A better way, if you will, right?
Some might say, yes.
Because it's also reflected in the fact that she wields the Darksaber with ease.
Oh man, that was great.
Right?
Like, it was weightless.
It was a lightsaber.
Din could barely like lift it up.
Just love the whole portrayal of like, this is how it is for Din, and this is how it is for Bo-Katan, who's had the lightsaber for years at one point,
She drops into the Kenobi stance.
Yeah, with the
with
shield.
the shield.
Oh man.
She's like, I learned this from a cool guy once.
Well, okay.
I learned it from my sister's boyfriend.
She's got a line in this episode. I used to fight alongside the Jedi once.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Grogu knows them. Like, you could have been like, hey, yeah, Ahsoka Tano helped me take back my planet one time. You know that lady that you just hung out with?
Yeah.
Yeah, Grogu can't talk back, but you could still tell him.
Yeah.
He knows what's going on. He understands.
He's grunting now, so he could, give you the affirmative.
I like that she very just like openly just like refers to them as like a father and son. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh, your dad, your kid, and stuff like that. Like,
But
it's very nice.
the part of the reason I also bring up the Jedi thing is because it's a great juxtaposition between the way Din talks about the Jedi as the ancient enemy of the Mandalorians, and she's like, I've known I've fought alongside Jedi. They helped Mandalore, right? It's this weird juxtaposition where everything Din sees is so dogmatic and so like locked in these traditional views that are flawed, right? When in actuality, like the way Bo-Katan sees everything is like everything's a lot more nuanced, right? Because even though she's been the one saying my planet's not poisoned, as soon as she gets there, she goes, well, it's effectively poisoned. Everything's gone.
Yeah.
Everything's destroyed. Our legacy is gone here. It's this interesting dichotomy because Din's never seen that planet. He doesn't know what it's supposed to look like, right? To him, it's this holy Mecca,
right.
regardless of the fact that there's millions of people gone from this planet, right? There's centuries worth, not centuries, millennia worth of city on this planet, right? And it's all gone. All of it's gone. It's just such this is what I want out of the show, right?
Man, they delivered in spades on this episode for you.
Don't get me wrong. I also want cool robot guy,
yeah.
right?
Real quick, I just gotta say, Din is so blinded in a sense by his faith that it basically he gets killed twice in this episode.
Exactly.
He dies twice in this episode. And if it isn't for Grogu and if it isn't for Bo-Katan, basically Bo-Katan both times, but Grogu as well, this dude is dead by robot guy, and he's also drowning on Mandalore.
To be fair, I think the first one was unavoidable, right? Like, I don't know how you see a buried helmet like that, and you're in the mines, and you're like, oh yeah, let me pick this up. This is Beskar, right? Like,
but you know what? I think when we've seen him traversing, the plains or what have you, he's a little bit. He's like, wait a minute. He has a little more keen sense, but I think he's so. I don't blame him, but I just think also like why would someone be laying a booby trap on Mandalore?
Right.
Unless it's trying to capture those other
and a booby
creatures,
trap
right,
and a booby trap like that.
Yeah.
But we know that guy is trying to trap Mandalorians because if you look at the area around his lair, there's all those armors.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Meaning other people have made the pilgrimage here.
And
or he's been here a lot longer than we think.
Yeah,
right.
It's a really interesting character. I did think for a hot second, for like 20 seconds, I thought it was Grievous, and a lot of it was based on what you had said a couple weeks last week when we were talking about Doug Chiang and the prequel designs, and I was like, oh my god, this would be the biggest surprise. They're resurrecting Grievous. I mean, they've done it before. Why not Grievous? I was like. Because then the arms started looking, and
the way he moves,
the little bit of the sound as well.
The way he moves,
Din Djarin.
I was freaking out.
The Mandalorian have your reputation to be a bit smarter.
Why do you sound like?
Yeah, that wasn't.
That wasn't.
You know what? I don't need
you went Dexter Jetster quoting.
You got lost
Dexter.
there.
Yeah, you went Dexter Jetster quoting
like
Grievous.
Like a Watto.
Like you went like Italian Dexter.
Hey, do it again.
Grievous.
Do it again.
Mamma mia.
It's me, General Grievous.
General Kenobi, let's go to Book of the Pepper.
So, but he's that when they show the foot step into frame from Din's point of view, locked in that cage, it looks like General Grievous's fucking leg, minus the claws at the end.
Yeah.
But I love the design of the big robot suit he had.
Oh yeah, like the crab machine type of thing.
It reminds me there's a miniature in Warhammer called an Ambot, and it is a big giant crab with those big claws and a weird face on the front. The look of that eye in that suit is just so all of it is so good.
Reminded me of like a Dalek from Doctor Who.
A little bit, yeah.
I was getting like some of those vibes. I was like, dang, this is creepy as hell.
Yeah. Say exterminate in Italian General Grievous voice.
Exterminate.
Exterminate.
It's so good. I love it. I like the weird gator bats.
Oh yeah, those are cool.
I liked the.
I was like, maybe they're like little. They're not baby mythosaurs, but like that'd be cool.
No, but you know what? I did think that when we saw them, because here's the thing with mythosaurs: there's not a lot of canon or even legends appearances of them. I think they're. Brandon asked before the show, are they supposed to be extinct? I think that's the general idea, is that mythosaurs are a creature that are long extinct. They're not a creature that exists anymore. So the fact that there's one of these sitting in a den below Sundari.
Yeah, it's got this episode was also very Game of Thrones-y, you know?
It's
It's
just-
just like
It just makes me wonder, like, this can't be the same one that, like, the original Mandalorian tamed.
yeah.
Because how would he know what the skull looks like without killing one and cracking it open?
Well, presumably there would have been more. So whether or not, Mandalore the Great, whether that's Mandalore the Great's mythosaur, that doesn't mean they didn't kill another one to find out what its skull looked like.
Is his name Mandalore?
Or you could just find one that died of natural causes.
Mandalore is a rank and the name of the planet. Their leader is known as the Mandalore.
It's very confusing.
Mandalore the Great, right?
Well, Mandalore the Great was the first.
What if his name was Steve the Great? Then they'd be
Steve
on.
No, he would be Mandalore the Steve.
They'd be on the planet Steve.
Clan Steve, right.
You are not Steve. You removed your helmet. You are Steve no more.
No, Steves wear banana hammocks.
Oh,
You're
no.
not Steve. You removed
wow.
your banana
The
hammock.
legend of Steve continues
You know-
to grow in ways.
wee.
Din removed his helmet slightly to eat. I think Bo-Katan saw his chin. So
Well, he's
his
done that.
chin's
He
done
does
that
that in like episode 3
Chin
of the
Djarin.
first season 2.
He does that on the
weird-
the passenger when he's sitting with
that can't be legal.
well,
when he's having dinner with that cute girl.
Oh yeah, on Sorgan or Sorgon?
Yeah.
Sorgan?
Yeah.
He has dinner with a cute girl.
Yeah, there's that like woman that wants him and Grogu to stay. It's like way earlier in early in season
I don't
1.
remember that, man.
It's when they did an actual
Start
Seven
watching
Samurai
the show,
episode.
bro.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this show before, man.
What else we got to touch on here?
I want to talk about the Alamites. Those are cool.
Those are the
weird
eye creatures.
troglodytes, yeah.
Yeah, and, I mean, well, we also that and Grogu like hauling ass back to Kalevala to get Bo-Katan was so cool.
I want some Mario Kart music during that.
I mean, they've really upped the capabilities. I don't know if they had it in season 1 and season 2, but in season 3, man, they are putting Grogu wherever they want, and it's looking great.
Yeah.
All his movements. Just even when he like pops up into the cockpit, when he first meets Peli there at the hangar.
I still think the force jump looks dumb.
I don't,
but it works.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I think it looks bad.
it looks cool to me.
Let
It
me
looks fun.
clarify here.
Fun. It looks.
I
fun.
think it looks bad, but I cannot imagine it another
Imagine
way.
Yeah, I don't know
doing
how
that,
you can make
right?
it look anything else other than how that looks, because it has to be a little bit based off of what you got from Yoda.
Right.
So you're gonna have that similarity inherently, just because
Sure,
of the species.
which-
Imagine him doing that with a lightsaber, though.
I would like to see that.
You know what I think? Series finale of this show, Luke Skywalker shows up and gives him Yoda's
Like, you know
lightsaber.
It's like, you know what, kid? You earned it. You still can't
And-
speak.
Because they have to fight like some big threat, right? And then we just see Grogu just go.
Well, speaking of,
That'd
He's got to,
Sick,
he's got
bro.
to pull it, like Yoda did. Like,
Yeah.
a little bit of a spoiler speculation, whatever. Celebration has started releasing some of their official art prints,
yeah.
and there is is it the Protectors of the New Republic
Yeah.
or the Guardians of the New Republic?
Guardians of the Galaxy, man.
You know what it is? Guardians of the New
Guardian,
Republic, because I thought the same thing when I read it. And it shows Ahsoka, Din, and Luke.
Damn.
I don't think it's a loot. I think it's just like a cool piece of like artwork.
Yeah, so I think it's just a cool piece of art, but it is interesting to think like if we get a team up, a Defenders style team up, I think we will get Luke as part of that.
I mean, the First Order
Probably
did
a
rise
minor
up,
part.
so they didn't do a very good job guarding the New Republic.
Well,
I gotta say.
We don't know that Din and Ahsoka don't both die in a plane crash or
We
something.
don't know if they find the world between worlds in
where was-
advance 50 years.
Where was Din on the day that Hosnian Prime blew up?
On Hosnian Prime, actually.
Damn.
Rip.
Oh, man.
Speaking of Hosnian Prime, how far are you into?
Yeah, I'm 6 chapters in.
Yeah.
And I'm liking it. I'm liking. I like the intro.
For those wondering, we're not going to spoil anything, but we are talking about Star Wars Jedi
Battle Scars.
Battle Scars.
And the first handful of chapters is kind of like, hey, this is what the crew's,
The
doing. And like this is what their adventures are like. I'm like, okay, cool. But then after that, it kind of settles down a little bit, and we're starting now. At least the part I'm getting into is starting to get into some, I guess, the main meat of this. Of this story.
If you're on chapter 6, you're in the main meat of the story, which I'm gonna give a bit of a cautionary statement here. If you're an Audible listener, this is the worst Audible track I've ever had.
It's
for a Star Wars book. Chapter 6 literally just has a high-pitched squeal behind the whole thing.
it sounded like more like a hum, but I could see. But yeah.
It's bad.
It's not my favorite one.
Especially if do you listen on increased
1.25, yeah.
Because I'm on 1.15 and it is so bad. When that started happening, I increased it to 1.25 and it became unbearable for me.
Because I was listening to this is now we're deviating away from Mandalorian.
Technical error, or was that like?
I think it's the way it's produced.
I think it's a production error. Because one of the best things about Star Wars audiobooks, they're produced like the audiobooks sound
Phenomenal.
like
they're audio dramas.
like audio drama. They are all audio dramas, right?
Well produced. The music is This one is the I don't want to say the word worst, but it's not the best
worst
one I've ever
Star
heard.
Wars one I've heard.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know that I've
not-
heard of because I only say that because I've never had an issue
Yeah, I've never hit. Yeah.
with a Star Wars audiobook.
What's interesting,
I've had narrators I don't like that
Yeah.
aren't. I've had narrators not.
that's fine.
I've had narrators not named Mark S. Thompson.
Yeah. Yeah. I have the book and I have the audiobook, and I'm like,
Okay,
I'm like reading
so-
along and listening, so like I'm following along.
So
on
if
the
you
page.
hit a chapter that sounds particularly bad, you could just read it. If
yeah,
you want. Okay.
yeah. But because I was doing it for Light of the Jedi, and I have that on 1.25, and it sounds great even at that speed.
Yeah.
It sounds great, and this one it's taking a little bit to get used
the
to.
High Republic stuff, especially the early High Republic stuff, is the best audiobooks.
Okay,
It's because they're done above and beyond what they normally do. It was like intentional that they have because they have unique.
Wasn't that phase a little bit delayed too? Like
it was a little bit delayed,
so-
and they also have original score.
yeah.
Whereas
yeah,
the other ones
they're
just
great.
use
Oh.
the rest of the Star Wars stuff just uses Star Wars score. The Light of the Jedi and the rest of the High Republic stuff uses original score.
It's very good. It's
So-
very well produced stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a little bit of the Star Wars book corner.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking about that some more coming up
Yeah.
on a separate episode.
I think we're gonna do a Scoundrels drink.
We'll either do Scoundrels Drink or we'll
Yeah,
do
yeah,
it
yeah.
once Bad Batch ends.
Something like we're gonna figure
Yeah.
out when to do it. Yeah.
Okay, let's jump to Mandalorian related questions.
Okay. Yeah.
While I get some questions ready, you guys talk about other stuff for the show that I didn't cover.
What else did we not cover?
I guess we could just talk about how cool or not cool you think the Mythosaur reveal was at the
Oh,
end.
you know what? I did think it was really cool.
Yeah.
I like how it was kind of just like it gave you the sense that this might be like a dormant type of like maybe it was like a statue. I thought maybe like just an underwater statue of some sort of the Mythosaur, but then it like slowly revealed the eye and everything like that, and then if you had the subtitles on, you see Bo-Katan gasps, and I thought it was a great reveal.
It reminds me of that shot in episode 1 with the eye open.
There's always a bigger fish.
Yeah.
Now I initially thought that it pulled Din down, but then just fell because he's clumsy.
And because, like we said, he has like 100 pounds of Beskar armor on. He's going to sink like a goddamn rock in that water.
He's just like Kino
to the
Loy. He
bottom.
can't swim.
What if Din actually can't swim?
What if Din is Kino Loy? That's why he doesn't take the mask.
Kevin's not on the show
That's
anymore,
why he
Brandon.
doesn't
You don't
take
got
the
to-
mask
well,
off,
you know,
man.
Spoiler alert,
Yeah.
what's his name? Andy Serkis just did an interview and said he would love to return as Snoke.
Yeah, well, yeah. That'd be cool. But he didn't say Kino Loy.
Din is Snoke confirmed.
All right, I'm just saying. All right, we got some questions
Yeah,
from the fans, guys. If you want to send us questions,
Don't.
do so via our Discord, or you can tweet them at us. Tweet them at us, right? If you've got a question, you're like, man, I don't use Discord, or I don't want to sign
Yeah.
up for your dumb Discord. I get
It's
it.
free.
Yeah, but a lot of people get a lot of Discord
Software.
emotes.
Yeah,
there's a lot of Discord alerts.
You can mute it like I do.
Sure.
No kidding. I never see him
Sure.
there.
Yeah, we haven't seen you there in a while.
That's not
Because
true,
I have
that's
you
not true.
muted.
You can tweet them at us or join the Discord.
Or leave
and
them in
post
the comments section for next week.
You just got to remember.
Yeah, no, yeah. I always
Sometimes
look
I'll
at
just go
comments.
in there and I'll say something and then leave, and I won't even check to see the
Or you'll post
responses.
a meme. Yeah.
Yeah. You missed the guy, the Publishers Clearinghouse. You're like, you're a winner.
It's like,
Oh
whoa.
Yeah.
man!
You missed it.
Damn.
You know, what are you gonna do?
Guess I'll just have to work until I'm 65.
All right.
That's
So
it.
our first question is from IT Nama.
Ah,
And it is, do you think the armorer knew what Din would find in the waters?
no,
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't think
No.
so.
I think there's part of me that thinks that she knew there was a steep drop there and just was like,
That'd
yeah,
be funny.
yeah, you know what?
Yeah,
Hey,
do
Din, go redeem yourself.
I think she even thought that he would not even ever find the waters.
Drown in a puddle.
Yeah, I don't think she
Yeah.
ever thought he was gonna ever find it.
That's-
And that's why there was that long pause of like, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, this is the way.
Yeah, I think that that's kind of the impression I got. I think she was giving him something unattainable.
Because she says it's impossible.
Yeah, I think that she's like, nah, fuck you, man. Like, and I'll be honest. Part of it for me, I don't think that she's really that mad that he removed his helmet. I think that she sees him as a challenger to her power
Yeah.
because she is the top of that food chain right now. Even Paz Vizsla, some distant relative of Pre Vizsla,
He would have a reverence for the Darksaber and adhere
Right.
to the mythology and the story behind
but
the sword.
he's
Yeah.
beholden to the armorer.
This is true.
When really he should be top of the food chain.
That's right.
Based on everything else we know, right? He's the guy that's leading them in combat. He's the guy that has the heritage and the pedigree. And not that I believe there should be heritage or pedigree in that sort of system, but you know,
Right.
fact of the matter is there is.
In their culture, like that would kind of dictate a certain.
It does mean
hierarchy.
something. But I don't think I think she was giving him something unattainable, like, hey, you know, get the hell out of my face. Right.
Yeah, I don't think anybody knew that the mythosaur is actually down there.
No. And I think the general idea is that it's extinct.
Yeah.
Right. So
Although
she definitely did not know.
it was a little surprising to me how close to the surface it was, just hanging out.
Well, I think it's a Naboo situation where you got like the weird, you know.
Like, has it always just been hanging out that close? Like when,
No,
like,
I'm sure it swims
when
down
Bo-Katan was a kid doing her creed on the staircase, like, was he just like watching, going like, "It's a good speech"?
Doesn't mean he was always down there.
Let's go. They got her presents.
Maybe the Mythosaur went down there when he saw the Empire coming and bombed the entire
well,
planet.
now
And
that-
he was like, "Yo,
It's kind of that
I'm
idea.
going into my bomb shelter."
Well, it's like in all the zombie shows, or like not iRobot. I Am Legend does this really well, right? Like there's lions in New York City.
Oh, right.
Right. I think it's kind of that idea that now that people
I
are
think
gone,
it was a deer, right? Too.
there's a lion there. So there's some,
oh yeah, whatever
something.
it was.
There's a lion in New York City. Anyways, from Darth Kithen or
Kid A.
Kid A.
Yes, it's Christine from the comments. Remember?
Oh,
Yeah.
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 What do y'all think the proof is he will take back to the armor? Some water, ashes, the head of an Olamite, or Bo herself?
I think a big old chicken drumstick, probably turkey leg, big old turkey leg.
The head of the mythosaur.
So I thought about that too.
Just throw it out.
Because he doesn't want to kill it. He wants to tame it so he can ride it in the
everyone,
battle.
everyone keeps saying that. Sure. How's he getting it off the planet?
Yeah, that thing.
Right? Like
yeah.
that was my
Star
thought. The same
Destroyer,
thing
bro.
even with the head, right?
Repurposed Star Destroyer.
Well, an Imperial Raider, what they had at the end of last season would be dope. That's one
Yeah.
of my favorite fucking ships.
I think the proof will be Bo-Katan.
R5 does a recording of him like swimming around.
R5 was not.
R5 wasn't
There.
down there, but
Like,
he
go
could
get
take
him.
R5 down there.
Go get him.
He also might have a recorder in his
There
helmet
might be a
or
record-
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the other thing I was going to say was it could be as simple as like a scrap of something that, you know, like that plaque or a scrap.
I think it would be very interesting that Bo-Katan is the one that tells the armorer, because there's going to be such conflict between the armorer and Bo-Katan, and the armorer is going to have to hear this from Bo-Katan and decide whether or not to believe her. And I think that will create conflict.
Well,
More so than there probably already is.
if we didn't know that Bo-Katan was no longer the head of her own little group, I would agree with you. But I think what we're going to see is Bo-Katan and Din working together to unite everyone else.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But what I'm trying to say is, the armor is not going to want to believe Bo-Katan because of her failings as a leader.
Sure,
because she's already conveyed that to Din before, right? So I think if Bo-Katan is like Din's only proof, and the armor is like,
it creates more conflict.
Yeah, you're like, wait, the way you're going to prove to me that you bathed in these waters is Bo-Katan's going to vouch for you? The person that's responsible for the decimation of Mandalore? That person? That's what you're bringing it to me?
He'll just go back still wet. Just like walk into her chambers.
Yeah, but then how do you know he didn't go to some other water? So here's
I
my.
Just gotta lick them. Be like, yeah, those are the water. That tastes very minor.
That tastes like the
Here's how I think
waters,
I would do it. So from the trailer, we know that there's some form of fight on Navarro coming up.
Yes.
Involving Mandalorians. I think the way I would do it, I would have Din go to Bo's former group of Mandalorians and sort of take command of them with Bo. And then at the end of the season, have Din return to the Children of the Watch and go and say, let me lead you to Mandalore. Let me lead you home.
Here's my wild theory speculation based on some of the stuff we've seen in the trailer. Where we see Din come out from the cave surrounded by those other Mandalorians, right?
Right.
I think that's going to be... it can be tied to him and Bo-Katan as well, saying we need to help Navarro, these people on Navarro, and he's going to lead that covert, Children of the Watch, and I don't think Bo-Katan's people are going to be involved this season. I think it's going to revolve around.
You think that's next
just
season?
the Children. Yeah, and I think what's going to happen on like episode 7 is this is where it's all going to go down. That they leave from wherever they're at to go to Navarro. With Bo-Katan, and they rescue the Navarro from the pirates. And episode 8 is kind of like a cliffhanger confrontation with the armor, because the covert will have abandoned the armor as their leader, I think, by following Bo-Katan and Din, namely Din, I think. Because I think by proxy, Bo-Katan is going to more or less reunite the Mandalorians through Din.
That's exactly what I think that's what I'm saying. I just think it'll start with Bo-Katan's people first, because I think the Children of the Watch make better villains. Right? The Children of the Watch make better antagonists. My theory on that shot of him leaving the cave was that that's not in the show. That they just filmed that when they filmed the first episode.
I don't know. We've seen
or what if it's
a lot of stuff from the trailer.
What if it's Grogu's ceremony to be admitted into the clan?
Could be. Yeah, that would be cool.
Maybe
that'd be interesting.
I'd be okay with that.
That's what I was thinking.
But if I were Din, I wouldn't do it there. I'd go do it on Mandalore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why not in the waters?
Yeah,
where the giant monster is. Go in there, son. You'll be okay.
Oh, that sounds really buddy.
But if they've tamed the monster or whatever, Okay, last question for Mando is from Saul. Kind of on the same line of questioning. Did the armor send Din to the waters, knowing he would be most likely drowned? I like that as a
this loser can't swim.
Go
to the waters.
Yeah.
It's only 100 feet deep, bro.
I definitely like that idea, but I think, I don't think she knew.
More than that, probably.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Din's definitely got the bends. Can we talk about that?
He's all, discombobulated now.
The change in pressure way too fast. He's got nitrogen bubbles in his blood for sure.
Yeah. I mean, if he would have sealed the armor like he did earlier, I think he'd be fine.
Yeah, he took it off a little bit. He took some of it off.
Yeah.
Well, it's Star Wars. What are you going to do?
But,
that it? We got that's it?
That's it for questions.
That's it for questions. The other ones will be answered on Monday when we talk about The Bad Batch, episode 12, The Outpost, which was phenomenal.
Great episode. We will also be covering some more questions not related to Bad Batch, just Star Wars questions in general.
Yeah.
So if you...
General.
So remember, when you send us questions, they don't have to be related to anything in particular. Just send us questions. If they're not related to Mandalorian, we'll answer them on Monday. Otherwise, they'll get thrown in somewhere.
Yeah.
Guys,
subscribe
to the YouTube channel.
Yeah,
please
do it.
Hit the button, please.
Use that podcast feed.
Podcast
whatever
feed.
your favorite podcast
wherever
feed is.
Yeah, we want to be famous, and we can't do that without you.
Yeah,
So,
please, get on that. Tell your grandma that we're a show, that we exist.
Perfect for grandmas.
Check out the TikTok. Check out the Instagram. Check out the Twitter.
There you go. And the Discord if you so desire.
Sure. Send us a Gmail.
You could do that
about
too.
whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
We just call it an email.
About anything, yeah.
Gmail. Is that it?
Facebook.
Nope.
If you need help with your math homework,
Friendster.
Get a tutor.
Scoundrel. Scoundrel. I like the sound of that.